Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratimeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sabhavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste Om Ishwara. So we have seen in our previous classes the definition of light, and in the Vedantic, from the Vedantic angle, light is that in the presence of which things are known. So we know the sense organs are forms of light because in the presence of touching, seeing, and hearing, we get to get a certain knowledge of what's going on. So we have seen that all of those are called pramanas. And then after Swami going through some examples, we bring it all the way to consciousness as the light of the light, behind all lights, because light is defined as that in which present things are known. And we know if we remove the gold, there are no ornaments of gold. If we remove consciousness, the sense organ, the eyes, the mind, none of this is able to know anything. So the ultimate pramana, the ultimate knower, the ultimate light is consciousness. Okay, and we also have seen that this light is very, very particular, because the physical light we experiment here, a candle light or a torch light or anything, it can never meet darkness, because wherever light comes, darkness dissipates. But the light of consciousness is that because it's satya and it's not from the same suborder of reality, it coexists with darkness. So knowledge coexists with ignorance, because ultimate knowledge is not that neutralizes ignorance in respect to this or that, but knowledge is the consciousness or the knowingness which allows knowledge of what I know and what I do not know. So therefore, we have this unique feature of the light of consciousness, which can coexist with darkness, our physical darkness, our physical light. And this light of consciousness, it is absolutely revealing the physical light, illumining our environment, and revealing the darkness, preventing the illumination of our environment. So it's a very unique kind of pramana light, and that is the Vedantic definition. When we call, I love this expression, the light of consciousness, the illuminator, that which it illumines and reveals, that in which present things are known and experienced. So it's a wonderful parallel definition of what we call the consciousness pramana, the means of knowledge called consciousness, the ultimate seer, the ultimate knower, the absolute experiencer, so to speak. So we have seen it. Consciousness is satya, therefore it has no problem with anything within mithya, including darkness or ignorance. That this Sat Chitta Brahmana alone is in the form of everything. So that is the ultimate conclusion. Intangible energy can appear as tangible energy. Vedanta says that in the same way, intangible, abstract, most subtle of the subtle consciousness appears as the world, and there is nothing magic, or there is nothing without any parallel in the scientific realm of knowledge, because we know that subtle energy appears as solid matter, depending on the receptor, the mind's, the sense organ, the construction of the sense organ. We're going to get certain energies as tangible, So we know that energy may appear as tangible, solid objects, subtle energies. So, and then it's easy to infer that consciousness, although it is absolutely not possible being described, not even as a subtle energy, yet it may appear, it's a logical conclusion that in the same way consciousness can and may and indeed appears as the tangible universe. So far, so good? Did I come to that paragraph that you told me? No. Okay, almost. At the same time, we know that consciousness can only be recognized and testified or verified if there is a means by which consciousness manifests. And having said that, the physical material world, if you have the deeper understanding, more philosophical, of the nature of consciousness as pure existence, the physical world manifests through the physical inert objects, and which is nothing but conscious existence appearing. So we identify conscious existence through all the objects in the physical inert, insentient, world of objects. But more to the point, we can identify consciousness, the chit nature of Brahman, because it shines in the intellect as I am, the mind. So how I can test whether there is consciousness operating in a certain physical body? You're gonna see if there is, self-awareness there, if there is a perception or any movement, any motion in terms of mental activity, brain activity. So there is something that is responding to a question that I ask. So you can see if there is an interaction. And then we say, no, I put it to the test, testing if there is consciousness still in the body. There is. There are other ways we can test it as well, just enough to see if the pranas are still keeping together. It means by inference that consciousness is there. It's not appearing as I am, but it's appearing as the pranic system, the entire function that is holding, heating, and controlling, regulating pressure, cholesterol, and everything, temperature. So we can infer that consciousness, and we have to develop an intimate relationship with consciousness because it's our true nature. And we hear that it's a limitless nature. And once you understand that, most of human problem is gone, and one can finally relax when we go all the way down to find the true nature of the aham. So we must recognize this consciousness, and we recognize it in the intellect, in the mind as it shines as aham. So the whole process of investigating or self-discovery, self-recognition, self-inquiry, self-knowledge has to go through the inquiry into the nature of the aham, ahamkara, aham, the mind. Because the mind is a reflection of consciousness. We have to trace it back to its original source of pure, limitless, non-dual consciousness. And that is the purpose. This is the suggestion of the Upanishads. As we know, we may get to know consciousness by having a huge deal of devotion, and then we just superimpose God upon consciousness, so to speak, and we develop devotion. And that is going to purify the intellect to the extent that the intellect is going to inquire the very nature of God, as the I, So we can go more the religious way, we can go more the Buddhist way, maybe, inquiring the nature of the I or human consciousness. But one way or the other, Ramana once said that devotion and jnana, they all lead to the same destination. If you begin with too much devotion, you're going to have to shift a little bit more to self-inquiry. If you begin with a lot of self-inquiry, self-investigation, you're going to have to shift a little bit to devotion when you see that no amount of self-inquiry, self-investigation is going to produce a paroksha jnana. And then you have to bring forth the devotion and the surrender to Ishvara. And then again, we have to come back to devotion, So it's better from the get-go, we have both an inquiry mind and a devotional heart going together, Swami plays a joke here, says that if we are here or there, it means we are consciousness, because we are conscious, I am, and I'm aware, and I know that I am. So there is conscious existence playing there. Are you aware? Are you perceiving? Are you knowing something? Yes. And then Swami says, if I ask this question, people are going to nod their head, but I have to be very careful because sometimes they know the man when they start having a nap, dozing, and then they had to go like that. He loved that joke. It's a nice joke. And then he concludes, say, no, but I'm very optimist. I'm optimist that you are not dozing and napping during the class. Bottom line, remember, you have a way to recognize the consciousness as this reflection that occurs in your own mind. But Swami says, I'm not able to recognize your consciousness, even though you can indirectly, by inference, recognize that the person is still shining with consciousness. But self-realization, self-knowledge, self-recognition, it has to be done by one's own effort. Science tried to recognize consciousness in the brain, and they failed very badly. The only way is the direct way. I am a conscious existing being. And for that, we need no proof, because there is nobody. There are people who go around say you don't exist. But unless there is some meaning, some value in that in a certain context, but on the surface, it appears to be a misleading statement, I'm conscious of anything that's hitting me from my environment, and not only that, it's coming from my chattering mind, from thoughts. Thoughts may be very aggressive sometimes. I'm conscious of words I hear, whether I understand them or not. I'm conscious of the sounds they make. I don't understand, maybe, but I'm conscious of everything. I'm never not consciously existing, except during deep sleep, of course. But even when you go to sleep, the mind goes blank, you go into samadhi, but that knowledge of a blank mind, okay, is a proof of consciousness. Nothing escapes consciousness. The very fact that we talk about emptiness, blankness, and nothingness, is proof that consciousness was that capturing and now relating to describing that experience. Consciousness, as we know, is always witnessing the presence of mental process and the absence of this mental process as well. So everybody likes to have a quiet mind. That's the whole thing about meditation. Meditation is sold in the spiritual marketplace because if the mind slows down, one has a better feeling experience of oneself and the world, you know. So to slow down the mental process is very, very good, but not as an end by itself. But you need to slow down to develop a contemplative mind, and then with that mind, you need to go into self-inquiry in the light of the teachings. No? So thus we have to go a long, long way to appreciate this consciousness. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarvasya, means available. Literally, it means present. Present being accessible, available, recognizable. It is very recognizable after once you recognize it, and then comes that kind of question. Oh my God, how could not have recognized it before? That which is present at all times. No? Arjuna, this is Jnana, Brahman, is consciousness manifests through the body-mind sense complex of the Jivatma. No? And then when this consciousness manifests as the entire universe, it's used. Now, the Jivatma, let me see, now I don't remember which one, because we are talking about two Sanskrit expression which gave how you say, that opened this chapter 13. One is k.etrajña, the other jnana. So here he mentioned that the topic of k.etrajña, which we discussed in the beginning, and the topic of jnana, which we have just completed, both of them means consciousness. But as we know, the same consciousness from different viewpoints or perspectives may take a different angle and name and consideration. Is the same consciousness. K.etrajña is Jnana Brahma. Jivatma, the k.etrajña, is the Paramatma, the Jnana Brahma. Now it became confused, this passage here. So, meaning k.etra and jnana both are consciousness. Jivatma, the k.etrajña, is the Paramatma jnana, okay? That's what it means. Both are the same. So if both words are the same, why we use two words? So we already have seen this. Yeah, but the best example is if we look at family members, the same person may take different members in relation to the relatives. From the reference point, from the standpoint of a child, the man is a father. From the standpoint of his father, he's a son, and so on. When the angle differs, the name may differs usually. In this place itself, suppose one person says, this is Adia. Another person says, this is Tamil Nadu. This is another example. This is India. This is Tamil Nadu, you know. Some say, no, this is Chennai. And different names. In the context of various states of India, you call it Tamil Nadu. Okay. So this reminds me of the teaching on location of the objects, you know, because an object may appear to be locating in a home, in a room, in a house, and then you can say it's in the house, and then it is in the town, it is in the country, and it is on the earth. The location of objects also goes on the same lines, you know, depending on the angle, the perspective. Okay. Okay, we move to the verse 19. Thus, k.etrajña and Jnanam have been taught briefly. Knowing this, my devotee becomes fit to attain my nature. So it means to say, knowing everything that so far I have unfolded, on the up to now, the devotee becomes fit to attain my nature. So Swam says, yeah, he says that Krishna is consolidating everything that he has already unfolded. And we've seen that the sixth topic, the six terms, he is consolidating. If you understand the nature of consciousness from all these different angles, it means that you are qualified to understand my true nature. Obtain my nature means assimilate and internalize this liberating knowledge. The six stops we remember now. But he reminds us that there are two other names that are missing. You know, it is Prakriti and if I remember well, isn't it Prakriti and Purusha? Let's see. Swamiji presents a nice analogy and says that in Vedanta we have a system, a method of teaching that we make 1-2 steps forward and then one step backward to review, to consolidate, and then 2 other steps forward and then 1 back to review, something like that. He says that it seems the lions, they do that as well. When they want to move, they do a few steps and then they look around to make sure that there is no threat or other animals, you know, wanting his prey. Yeah. When I give something that my dog likes, I put it before him. Before he looks around, make sure that no other animal is going to come and catch it. And then he start planning where to hide that. Or if he's very hungry, he just finish it. So Krishna is trying to make sure that so far this portion was covered, and then he moves forward. Similarly, the teacher has to give an opportunity to the student to think that what has been covered and then move forward. Therefore, Krishna here said, "Hey Arjuna, I have discussed 4 topics. K.etra, now he's going to remind us. K.etrajña, Yana, and Jnaya. Yeah. Okay. Only so far this 4th thing, and he says, and I only unfolded, explained it briefly. If you want more details, use your intellect once more. So I will explain it more later on, maybe. Let's see. For some people, it appears to be a very challenging, difficult topic. Therefore, some people, it is a challenging topic, and therefore their intellect is kickled, therefore they want to know more. Confusing a phrase, it's common because it's all free, open talks, and then when they do this transcription, that I believe that this one I don't know, but maybe even 25 years ago, these transcriptions were being already made by AI. Because 1,000, almost 2,000 pages, just listening and, and typing it, it's a little bit difficult. Now there are many programs that you get the audio and the AI transcribes it. WhatsApp does that for us as well. I don't know, maybe it was fake, it was done manually at the time, most probably. So he says that some people are so excited about this topic that they want to know more. There is another group of people who says enough of Vedanta, it is not enough of Vedanta. Let me just stick with my Krishna Rama Japa mantras and whatnot. Let me go for my other sadhanas. This Vedanta is not taking me anywhere. As we know, if the mind is not really refined and qualified, the mind does not benefit much of this knowledge because it's taken only on the intellectual level. In order to internalize, people would have to consider like, okay, I have to go back to Kami Yoga and be a good Kami Yoga. But more often than not, people try the Yin Yoga of Vedanta. And then rather than going back to Kami Yoga, they just go and they look for something else to be done with, some other kind of sadhanas. Therefore, some intellectuals say, enough is enough. I'm fed up with Vedanta. Let me stick with my old sadhanas. Who wants all these kinds of head-splitting, difficult analysis? So therefore, I have given you a sample. Swami Paramarthananda say that Krishna gave a sample to wait to see those people who are crazy enough to want to know more. If you're interested, look up for the Upanishad. The Upanishads exclusively and predominantly deal with this subject matter. He was saying that Upanishads is going to go very deep on these different angles. We can look upon consciousness from different views, different perspectives. Okay. It's like Krishna is showing a trailer of the complete show that is going to appear later on, or here, or appears in the Upanishads. So every seeker who is my devotee will certainly know this, and one of the conditions is what she should be my bhakta, for which Krishna indicates bhakti as an important qualification for gaining self-knowledge, which Krishna has already mentioned several times. Okay, he's saying that more exposition will appear on this matter. But if the seeker has devotion, if the seeker is one of my devotees, this person will certainly know this self-knowledge, because devotion is one of the most important conditions. We should become a bhakta. Krishna indicates bhakta as a very important qualification for gaining self-knowledge. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. We saw an entire chapter of the Gita, which we're referring as bhakti yoga, as the essence within any and all kinds of sadhanas, or spiritual, so-called spiritual paths. So a Vedantic student should necessarily be a devotee. A Vedanta teacher should be necessarily a religious person. And that is why in all our scriptures, philosophy and religion, philosophy and theology, they are mixed together. This is a very, very, very beautiful point, because there are many other philosophies or schools or spiritual schools that do not touch devotion to God. They keep it on the philosophical level. But Vedanta presents philosophy and religion mixed together, the Gita, but fundamentally the recipe, the program is begin as a religious person, develop understanding of your relationship with Ishvara and its laws and principles, because that's going to help you to develop certain qualifications to search to the nature of the spirit behind everything. Spirituality is the search for the direct understanding of the spirit of everything. As we know, this apparent order is made out of spirit and matter/energy. We want to know the spirit for the reasons we know well. It's immortal, it's limitless, it's free, self-contained, and so on. Everything is a mixture of both. Whereas in other systems, especially in the West, philosophy and theology are separate. And you can even go into spiritual philosophies as an atheist, which is something absolutely out of question from our understanding. We insist that if you want to have only philosophical knowledge, if you want to have the full knowledge, the complete knowledge, the yin-yang knowledge, the knowledge of the most subtle yet available and present at all times as conscious existence, if you want to have that directly understanding that transforms, you must start with devotion. Again, devotion. The discussion may be of pure, formless, conscious truths, even though the discussion is the ultimate truth, like some people in the direct path circles. The discussion may be good. They're addressing the truth. Some other places they are going to call spirituality any kind of discussions about engaging the subtle realms, interdimensional realms, energies and these different dimensions, locus. That is not religious spirituality. That is not Vedantic spirituality. Is a mystical spirituality, okay? And some people, a lot of people, being unable to develop devotion through devotion, being unable to understand the true nature of the spirit, they fall for exotericism and mysticism, which is more of samsara, I'm interested in these other dimensions. So that's why we keep a photo of the Lord in our homes, in our satsang halls, and we start with our prayer, and we end with another prayer, because without devotion, Atma Yana does not take place. So here he's being very radical, very assertive. Without devotion, self-knowledge is impossible. There is no such a thing as a no-religious Vedanta. There is no such a thing as secular Vedanta. Vedanta without engaging the nature of God, addressing. Even if somehow knowledge takes place in the mind of an unknown devotee, it remains an academic knowledge. So that is called armchair philosophy. This is, I heard this from Ramji in the old days when he used to refer to his contacts with Shimaya. And this philosopher, these academics, that expose Vedanta, they used to be called, or they are still called, as armchair teachers. What is armchair teachers? They have all this academic knowledge. They can unfold it very nicely, and they have all this knowledge, but only when they are sitting there playing the role of a teacher, a guru. The moment that they stand up and people begin observing the way they live, and then their lives and their knowledge do not conform at all. So this is the armchair gurus or philosophers or teachers. It reminds me of Claudio. Claudio went to visit Mark as well, and it was interesting when he came to a point, he said, no, I'm stopping with this class because I just want to teach, I just want to be a teacher, not realizing that in order to teach Vedanta, he must be a disciple and must be a devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, it's one more academic, blah, 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 all around, talking beautiful things from the academic angle, So without devotion, the individual remains as academic. It remains an academic knowledge. It becomes armchair philosophy. The person may be an expert in the Upanishad, but there will be no transformation in one's personality. If we want to know if someone has internalized, internalized knowledge, look at the level of the personality to see if the person was really radically changed or transformed. If there is no transformation, or if there is very little transformation, chances are that the knowledge was not properly assimilated and internalized. Therefore, Krishna here is insisting that one should be necessarily a devotee. In fact, at the end of the 18th chapter, Krishna even gives a warning to every Gita teacher. The warning to the teacher is never teach Gita to a person who is a non-religious person. Wow, I have forgotten this statement. You see, Gita, especially Gita, which involves, Kama Yoga, Dharma, the relationship between Jivatma and Ishvara, needs to be taught for someone who is some sort of religious background or tendencies or vasanas. So, and why it said that never teach it to a no-religious person? Because the person is going to, how you say? To get the teaching and distort the teaching or change things, impact the system, contaminate the teachings, in presenting a version which is absolutely deprived of love and devotion towards God and appreciation, is going to do something about that. And it's going to be propagated something which is not, in harmony with Sampradaya. But here he goes to the extreme. Never teach Gita to a person who is an atheist, who has no religious or devotion tendencies. Yeah. And I have seen, these 10 years, I have been in contact with people in Brazil that come, and the off cloud may be another example. But I think that it's good to teach to anyone, in any case. There's not much harm that can be done. The person may be propagating a different version of what Bhagavad Gita is meant to serve, to be. But yet, it's okay. The one who is not religious, do not give the Gita to one who is not religious. Therefore, Krishna here says, he goes a next step. He must be my devotee. That's what he says. My devotees will attain my nature, he said in that verse, Mat Bhakta means Ishvara Bhakta. Such a devotee will necessarily gain the knowledge, and even if he feels that Jesus is too subtle to be understood, his devotion, her devotion will refine over time, and the intellect will refine, the mind will refine, and the person will keep staying with it, keep listening until it understands better. But devotion must be there. Devotion and a certain trust. But if the person gets exposing their mind to a lot of other philosophies which reject and are contradictory, and then the person finds himself or herself in a difficult position, divided, different approach, different teachings, and different potentials to go astray. He goes here and he says the devotion is going to refine the intellect. We know Kama Yoga is the most natural way to purify and refine the intellect. Second time the person listens after a year or two will understand it better. The person will not say, oh, I have improved, but he will say, oh, Swamiji, Guruji, you are teaching better now. So anyway, the teacher does not care whether you believe that the teacher before was not teaching properly, now it's teaching better. Or if the student will not understand that the student got improved, more refined, more qualified. And here in that, so here he says as well, the teacher is not bothered who takes credit for the knowledge being more assimilated now, whether the teacher has improved or the student have improved. in truth, I have seen in other passages that Swamiji says, both have improved. Swamiji say, I have improved as a teacher, and my students, they keep improving as well as devotees, as inquirers. Swami says that's why Vedanta has to be listened again and again. First time listening, I will pick up on certain aspects of the teachings. Next time, I pick up on something else, and then the other concept gets even more clear. So it's almost like a puzzle that you're going to picking up a piece here, a piece there, and somehow it goes forming this vision, this clarity and vision of what Vedanta is trying to reveal. So there is a special Brahma Sutra which is dedicated to this subject, this point. The point is keep on listening. My devotee will certainly know this in due course. And once the devotee understood it, what is the benefit? What is the palan? That is important. We also want to know what is the benefit. He will attain my nature. He will attain, the understanding of his or her nature as the same as mine. If they understood that I am free now, they have to digest the fact that they are free as well, if they understand that Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikya, the same Atma. If I have been doing this work always, approaching, addressing, or studying, or trying to assimilate the nature of Brahman as limitlessness and fullness and completion. And then now I have to digest that since my nature is the same, because there is only one consciousness, one existence of non-dual nature, I must accept my free and limitless independent nature as well. So I must say, me too, I am also ever free. Everything is free. Everything is just a superimposition upon that which is free, which is consciousness, which is our true nature. It's very simple. And it has nothing to do with the attributes of this or that jiva, but with the essential nature of all jivas as the Atma, which is the eternal freedom within each one of us, our true nature. The nature of Shwara, as we know, is Punatva. Shwara is Varupam, means Shwara, Puna nature. Previously, we have considered Shwara to be a finite deity. Now he does not have that problem. He knows I am the pervading Brahman. Now, before, the devotee we consider himself to be a finite individual. Now the devotee does not have that problem. The devotee knows I am the all-pervading Brahman. There is no sense of isolation. There is no sense of rejection. No one is attending me. Okay. So all those samsaric problems, This is all samsara. Sense that the children are not loving me, nobody comes to visit me now that I'm an old person, and so on, nobody loves me. sense of isolation, rejection. In fact, this samsaric nagging problem of lacking certain things, attention, love, company, these samsaric problems gets even more intense as we grow older and older, because when we are younger, we can forget our samsaric problems by extroversion, diversion, interactions. We are busy, and we are never getting in touch with our illness, this sickness called samsara. So if we keep moving, that which is within does not come to the surface. But once we are old enough, we don't have much energy to interact with the Dharma field. And then not having that escape, things are going to come to the surface. And then one ends up as a nagging old person. There's nothing worse than aging in that way. As we get old, we don't have that escapist route. Lying on the bed without being able to get up, therefore no fear. How wonderful. This is the benefit. You are old. You don't need to do things, hopefully, because sometimes we see very old people having to work in a supermarket here and there. But if you have a good pension, you don't need to work much. But you don't want to be bored to death home, complaining that nobody loves you, nobody sees you. Complaining, my children moved away, they went to the States. Those examples Swamiji likes to present. In the 19th verse, Lord Krishna has consolidated and conclude 4 topics. Krishna wants to discuss the last 2 topics which he has not discussed, which is, come on, I think it's Purusha and Prakriti. Yeah, Purusha and Prakriti.
Arlindo,
Yep.
I have the translation for the 20th verse above. Would you like me? It's Swami Dayananda's translation. Would you like it?
Can you repeat translation of which verse?
The 20th at the bottom of the previous page.
Okay. I was thinking that it's going to appear later on.
Yeah, well, maybe it does, but would you like to know it?
Yes, please.
May you know that both Prakriti and Purusha are beginningless, and may you know that the modifications, and indeed the qualities, are born of Prakriti.
Yeah. So he's going to address the fact that between these 2 principles, there are some common features and some uncommon features. So I remember that. As we know, Prakriti is just nature. It has a saguna nature, and it keeps changing. And but everything with Prakriti is fundamentally beginningless as well, because matter and energy can never be destroyed completely. It gets converted. In the case of the entire universe, cosmos, it has converted into its potential latent seed formation or condition, which is the macrocosmic causal body of the universe in which everything is contained. Okay. So it goes from the verse 20 up to 24. He's going to unfold the common features and the different features of everything. As we know, purusha refers to consciousness, prakriti refers to nature or maya, matter energy. One is the matter principle, the other is the conscious principle. Okay, we're gonna leave it for tomorrow. It seems I'm gonna be still here. It's good that the internet held together. Okay, no?
Yeah, Linda, I don't think I'm going to be able to attend tomorrow. Sorry, my situation's changed a little bit.
Okay,
But Friday I'll be good.
okay. Okay. I'm in the middle of many things. Would be better for me if we cancel this meeting for tomorrow. Is that okay with you, Lynn? I'm dealing with a lot of problems here. Things of life, things breaking down. Then we meet on Friday, okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Shwara.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Ardo.
Thank you, my dear. We meet on Monday.
Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday. Yeah.
Bye.
Shwara Vini. Namaste.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Linda. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.